Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm going to take a look at Openmamba, which is an Italian distro. And so this is a distro that looks really interesting. It's an RPM-based distro, yet it's an independent. Openmamba is a Linux-based operating system, but it's not based on any other distributions. So I think that's kind of cool. Typically when I hear an RPM-based system, I think of something based on Red Hat or Red Hat/Fedora or OpenSUSE or something like that, but this is like its own independent distro, and this is an Italian distro. I think it looks really cool. It's full of free software. It's simple and professional, as they say on the website. It provides software for office, multimedia, internet, games, and much more. And as it says on their welcome page, Openmamba is an open source operating system for notebook, desktop, server, single board, and tablet computers. That's really cool. Openmamba. That's neat. Or maybe it's Openmamba. I'm not really 100% sure on the pronunciation, but oh, I know how I could settle it. I'll use my magic 8-ball. I knew it'd come in handy sooner or later. So here it is. All right. So, great magic 8-ball. Should I call this Openmamba or Openmamba? HTF should I know? What? What kind of answer is that? Why, you Weisenheimer putz. Piece of junk. Answer me. Okay. I guess I'll just go with Openmamba. And also, something that's cool to note is this is a rolling distro. I like that too, a rolling release. So here I am at the downloads page. I just clicked on the download link in the tab there. And so here we have our live DVD rolling, and it's also available in a CD, which is a smaller size. A CD I think is around 1.2 gigs, I think it is, and the DVD is around 3 gigs. The DVD gives you a whole bunch of stuff. So I think I'm just going to go with the live DVD here. I'm going to click on this, download it, and load it in, and let's check it out. I'm excited. Okay, we're booted in here. This is a live system. So here's our boot menu, and that's got kind of a cool look. I like this green on a dark console look. So I'm just going to boot this up, and at the same time, I'll just shrink down here into this corner so I'm out of the way. And we should be booted into the live version any second now. Or any day, whatever applies. And there's a nice splash screen there. I like that. Pretty cool animation. And here we are on the desktop. So this is looking nice. I like the wallpaper. Just a really cool look overall. I like it a lot. So I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to select the menu and just kind of see what that looks like. All right, so our KDE menu. I'm going to open up the installer and let's just get right to it. Let's see how this looks. Here's our Openmamba installer, and it looks like it's the Calamares. Nice. So this will be probably a more pleasant experience. So default is American English, and that's good. So we'll go with that. I'll just hit next here, and it's defaulting to Europe, so I'm going to change that, and we'll make that America. And then we'll change the city, and we'll just slide that over to New York. That's close enough. Wherever it is, there it is. Cool. Then we'll hit next. This is an Italian distro, by the way, after all. So yeah, it is going to kind of say Rome there, I guess. So English was our default, that's good. And then here we'll hit erase disk, and then maybe go with swap with hibernate. Actually, you know, I think I'd rather have swap to file. So I'm going to go with that, I think. There we go. Yeah, that's better. And then I'm going to hit next, and then type in my usual stuff. So very simple install here. We'll do Toadwick, and then my password. And then I'll just uncheck the login automatically. But I'll leave the other one checked here. Then we'll hit next. And it looks like we're good to go. It's kind of giving us a summary of what it's going to do. It's going to erase the whole disk. So I'm going to hit install now. I'm good with destroying everything on it. So let's go for it. Okay, and we're off. So there we go. Here our install's going. And I'll be back. I'm going to pause the video and let this do its thing. And then I'll be back, hopefully soon. See you in a second. Okay, we're all done. So that was easy peasy, very quick install. I'm just going to hit the restart or the done here and let it restart now. And then with a little luck, okay, we're in, and we'll go with Openmamba. So far so good. It looks like we had a successful install there. And if we get to a login screen, I'll know for sure. And there's the cool splash screen again. And there we are. So excellent. We'll just log in. Oh, I see that it's Wayland by default. I think I'm going to go with X11. I don't think Wayland is really ready for prime time yet, so I'm just going to change that. Excellent. So I'll just hit enter, and then we should be in. Got our splash screen there, and there's our Openmamba welcome screen. So Excellent. Looks like everything went well. And so what do we got here on our welcome? It looks like it's installing some stuff here. It says the program will complete the installation by adding the minimum requirement recommended set of packages. Cool, okay. So I don't know how long that's going to take. It might take a while. So that might be because I use the big DVD. Anyways, I paused for a second. So that's good. We got some updates happening here. So that looks nice. And I'll just kind of look at that. And it's giving us a little summary there. That's cool. So I'll just hit the install button there. I just kind of slid over so we can kind of see some of this stuff. And so I'll let those updates run too, and I might let those run first. I don't know. Let me hit next here real quick. Okay, so it's giving me some choices. It's showing what's installed by default already. Our choices, that's cool. And if we want to add anything else like multimedia editing, software, games, we got emulation and virtualization like VirtualBox and so forth. So that's something I would check if I was going to be on a live daily driver, but I'll just leave it the way it is because I think that's pretty cool, like the way it is. Then we got Widevine, so that would give us some extra extensions for Google if you're going to use Google Chrome. VirtualBox is something I might check. And we also got proprietary drivers like for Wi-Fi and so forth, Broadcom, and those MS fonts. I check that too because that's always good to have. I like having MS fonts. You can never have too many fonts, especially if you're messing around with graphic programs like Inkscape and GIMP and so forth. So nice. So that might take a bit. I'm going to let that do it. And while that's doing it, let's look over here. Here's our calendar and our clock. And by default, it's showing the date and time. Then we have our network, our control center, and then our updater, which we were looking at before. And then this is our show desktop. So I like that. And then over here, of course, we got some of our sticky icons. We got Dolphin for our file browser. Here we got our menu, main menu, launcher, and I just clicked agree on that. That was related to, I forgot what it said, but I think that was related to one of the things I checked, the codecs, I think. And we'll probably get another one for the Microsoft fonts, but that's related to this installer up here that's kind of installing this stuff. So that's kind of cool. Those are proprietary, so I think that were like license agreements that need to come up for that install. So that didn't take too awfully long. We went ahead and finished on that. And then this is our Openmamba control center. And here you can choose from things like software, packages, and so forth, checking for updates and all that. And then we'll open up our Dolphin file browser. That's looking kind of nice. And I kind of like the theme on this. I like the green color. That's kind of a nice shade of green. You know, sometimes a lot of distros don't get the green looking really nice, but this one, I like it. It's got a nice shade. And there's my home folder. And looks like it's just the desktop folder showing. So the other main folders might be in a different folder, maybe documents or something. I'll have to check that out in a bit. And then here we got our education graphics categories. And in here we have like Digicom, Krita, LibreOffice, Ocular, a lot of good stuff here. And under Internet, we got a Firefox installed by default, FileZilla. Let's see what version of Firefox we got. I think the latest is right around 103. Actually, I don't think we ran the updates yet, so this might not be quite 103, but let's just see where it's at right now. I'll just go to Help and About, and it looks like it's 102.01. So yes, I think after the update, that's probably going to be at 103. But that looks like it's pretty latest and greatest. And really being an RPM base, I'm assuming that these are going to be pretty up-to-date software that's installed in here too. And under multimedia, by default, we got our VLC media player. Glad to see that in there. And of course, all your codecs are pretty much installed with VLC player. And it's 30.17.4 veterinary. So definitely a new version there. So we're latest and greatest, up-to-date on that as well. And then we have our LibreOffice installed by default. And LibreOffice is a pretty decent office suite there. And then we have our typical system and settings here. And I'm going to open up console because I always use console when I do a review. And I always like KDE's console. And then here we got all the other typical things that you would expect to find in KDE. And then we also have utilities like our HP device manager. So that's nice. Very compatible if you got an HP printer and also with other printers. So if you have any printer that has Linux drivers available for it, typically I like HP and the best for Linux, but I've also used Canon and Brother without any problem on here as well. So I'm going to just kind of magnify this a little bit, max out everything, and let's see our kernel. So it looks like we're running 5.15.57, so I guess we got an LTS kernel on here by default, and I am good with that. If you had like really new hardware and you needed something a little more up to date, it's really not too big a deal to update the kernel. In fact, I think there's a repo you can just add into the package manager. So I'm installing HTOP right now because it doesn't have HTOP installed by default. As you can see, it's using the Openmamba base repos rolling. And I really like the fact that this is an RPM distro that's rolling. I just kind of partial to rolling distros because I don't have to worry about upgrades and stuff like that. They just stay up to date all the time, which is very cool. And so now it's asking me to confirm these GPG keys here. And this is kind of a first time thing. You shouldn't see that all the time, but this is the first time I ran DNF, so. And DNF is the console version of the package manager. And the GUI version is DNF Dragora, which we'll see in a little bit. So here's HTOP, and yeah, that looks kind of funky. I guess the console doesn't like the theme with HTOP. So maybe, how about if I make it dark? I just opened up my settings panel here, and I'm thinking maybe I could tweak this. How about a dark theme? Maybe that would kind of be more tweaked towards it. And it really didn't affect anything. Just gonna close it and run it again. Yeah, that's kind of strange. I think I need to come over here to settings and look at my color scheme, and maybe changing that would kind of do it. So let's just try something different, like Openmamba dark. Actually, that's where we are already, I think. So let's try like this one, light. Nope. How about, yeah, okay, so I guess that's not gonna work. So I'm just gonna go with top. So I don't know what the deal is with the theming there. The color scheme for some reason just doesn't work right with HTOP, so not sure what's up to that, but it looks like we're using about 1.1 gigs in RAM, so that's probably just a little bit on the higher side, but I do have a lot more stuff open here too, so I gotta kind of consider that a little bit, along with OBS Studio. So anyways, I'm liking the green color. That's nice, and I'm just gonna go into maybe the root file system here, just so we can see more folders. There we go. That looks better. That way when I make some changes, we can kind of get a better idea of how it's going to look here on our file manager. So if I come over here to Appearance and hit that, then we have more choices here. And by default, we got our Openmamba dark and light. And then here we got our application style. And so I'm good with the default breeze there. And if we go to plasma style, we can change our style there. But again, I'm good with the default on that. And so here's our colors. And there's the set your color accents from your wallpaper. And that's a fairly new feature here in Plasma. And I really like this feature. This is probably one of my favorites. So let's just try that. I'm just going to go in here and see what kind of wallpaper we got to choose from and set our accents on it. And it looks like we only got 2 choices. Okay. Well, under wallpaper type, let me select something else. How about picture of the day? And something from NASA. That could be cool. And wow, is that from the James Webb maybe? Kind of a cool background. So anyways, let's see how that affected our accents. And we got that cool blue, so it must have pulled that blue out from the center of that nebula there. That's cool. So I like that blue style. That's nice. I would go with that for sure. And then of course here you can set your own color. If you just want a custom color, you can choose from this palette here. Or you can choose custom button or the picker and pick pretty much any color you want. But I guess I'll just kind of stay with the wallpaper color. And anytime you change wallpaper, those accents will change automatically when you change the wallpaper. So I think that's really cool that you can do that. And that you don't have to check anything every time you change wallpaper. It's automatic. Nice. Okay. And then if we go down here to window decorations, this is where you can set your top bar on your windows. And so if we click on our buttons here, see those buttons up in the upper right corner? This is where you could change those. Like if I wanted to move this X and have it over there on that side, and then if I hit apply, Then my X comes up over here. Whoa. So you can switch all those, or you can move it all the way to the other side of the window if you kind of want it on the left side like on a Mac. But I'm just going to leave it there. But this is where you can modify all that. You can even change your title bar and its location and all that. So that's kind of the place you can do that. Then we got our fonts, our icons, and again, I'm liking the defaults, but you can also choose from Adwaita, Breeze, GNOME, or you can click the Get New Icons button and download a whole different icon theme from online, which is nice. And that's our boot splash screen that we get when we boot into the desktop after logging in. And then pretty much all the usual stuff here, a lot of things here. This is very typical of what you see on any KDE distro. We have our search, account details, notifications, our users. Of course, I always click in there because I like to set the avatar. So I can click on here and I can choose from a preset or use my own picture. But I typically just grab a preset. And that kind of looks like me, that big fish. All right, so I'll apply that. Then we got our regional settings, applications, KDE Wallet, online accounts, user feedback. Nothing there I usually change. I like keeping those by defaults, typically. Then we got our inputs. And here I like to turn on the numlock if it's not on, because I use the numlock quite a bit. I have the extra keys there, so I like having them on. And then your mouse settings, if you're a lefty, you can go in here and set it for left hand and change your scroll direction and all that good stuff. So that's where you can do that. And then we have our display and monitor settings, so you can change your resolution or your compositor, and our power management settings, so you can jump in there and turn them on and off. And then back, we got printers. If you need to set your printers, typically it'll detect your printers automatically, but you could go in there and do it manually. And then we got our about. So here it's showing we're using KDE-Plasma version 5.25.4. It's pretty latest and greatest to me, I can see. We're running our X11, 6 gigs of RAM assigned to this, and our update settings. So if you want to update automatically instead of manually, you can do it there. It's manually by default, and manually is where I typically go. And then here under our workspace behavior, I like our desktop effects too. This is where you can use all your effects. Of course, the more effects you use, the more resources you use, but they got cool effects in here like wobbly windows and magic lamp, squash, all that good stuff. So here's our wobbly windows. So if I hit that and hit apply, then we can wobble our windows and shake it, and not much wobble to it. Seems like the default is kind of stiff lately. So I'm going to click that and just kind of move that to the middle. Just kind of slide it over and then hit OK. And that should give us a little better wobble. Yeah, there we go. I think that's pretty civilized. I like that. Not too much, not too little. So those are our desktop effects. Just kind of wanted to show that to you just in case you didn't know where that was. And now we got a little bit of a wobble when we slide these guys around. So now I'm going to open up our software center here. This is Discover. And Discover is a really good software center. In the beginning, I wasn't real crazy about Discover, but Discover has really matured a lot. It's really grown on me. And here we got all our different categories, so all our default stuff, and here's all kinds of different IDEs that you can choose from. GAMBAS, that's kind of cool. I like that. KDevelop, Qt Creator. So if you like C++, but you want to work more visually, Qt Creator is really nice for that. You can also integrate it with Python. It does have, you can use it with PyQt or PySide, which is even more free. That's nice. And then Godot Game Engine, that is fantastic if you're into making games. And speaking of games, let's click in here. So we got Space Cadet Pinball. Wow, I might just have to download that later. And under graphics, we have some cool graphics featured right off the bat. Blender and GIMP, also known as GNU Image Manipulation Program. And OpenTunes, that's a fantastic animating program. And here's Inkscape. When I click on it, you can see it's 1.2.1-1. So that looks pretty latest and greatest to me too, dated July 19th. And today's the 12th. By the way, today is the day that this ISO was made available. So this is the newest ISO from Openmamba as well that we're looking at. I forgot to mention that. And then here you can also see that there's a FlatHub version available. So FlatHub is installed by default. here. And I'm happy to see that as well. But personally, I would stick with the rolling if the rolling's available, and it did default to that too, which I like. Personally, I would prefer that because it's not as bulky. And then if we go to settings, here we can add more repositories that are in here. And of course, we could put custom repositories in as well. So if you got some extra things or you want to add some testing repositories, it also has the latest Linux kernel releases as well. So if you hit that repository up here, then that will give you access to the latest kernel, which is 5.18 something is the time of this video. So if you want an updated kernel for some reason, that's where you can do it. And after checking those, of course, it asks for more GPG keys there and adds those in. So easy peasy to add those repositories, and I'm liking that too. And the other cool thing is the repos that are on here already have the cool stuff like VLC player and everything, so you don't have to worry about adding RPM Fusion like you do in Fedora. And so there's no extra steps you really got to go through. And so here on our main launcher, if we right click, we can select show alternatives. And so here we got our alternative launchers. So this is our default. And then down here at the bottom, this one, application menu, is like a Windows 7. And then the one up on top is our application dashboard, and that'll make it full screen. So when you click on it, then you got this full screen. And personally, this is my favorite. I really like this one. So you can go down here and you can select all the different categories and you can see everything. And of course, these categories automatically change when you hover over them. So that's nice too. I like the hover change. And then we got a easy access and even some of our, like our Mammoth report, it looks like, and system base, and a system report. And then other categories, these are our recent applications that we were just in. And then we have widgets here. And I love this widgets selection also in this menu. This is something I really like because you don't have this access in the other menus that I know of anyway. And so you can see all the widgets here. And on the right hand side, you got all the categories. So easy to select. It's really fantastic. Probably my favorite. And then you can see our window previews are on over there. And then if I was just going to slide over here, you can kind of see what we have here in our bar. So these are our notifications here and our control center, software updates. And I think I've already went over these, but you know. So here we got add, remove software, check for updates. And so some of these I missed before. And then our firewall, proxy, you can turn these on and off right here, so you have easy access to those. And I think that's nice to have right there. That's pretty handy, actually. So we'll close that. Then let's open up our system settings here. Okay, I'm going to jump back into our desktop settings here. Just going to right-click on the desktop, select Configure Desktop and Wallpaper. And so let's just do something different here. You can also, you know, in addition to those random wallpapers here, you got all these other choices, which I forgot to show you before. So you can choose from a lot of sites, and Flickr's a good site too, actually, to grab some random pictures. But you can also go in here and just go back to image, and then you can click Get New Wallpapers here. And if you click that, then it takes you online, and there's all kinds of wallpapers that you can choose from there too. So if you don't want to randomize, this is where you can go and just find some to download. So this is kind of nice too. And so by scrolling down here, you can just kind of peruse everything. And of course, you can also sort by recent as default, but you can also go by like most popular and so forth. And so you can go down here and you get lots of choices, and really kind of opens it up to more wallpapers that you can choose from if you want something permanent. And this one actually looks kind of nice. I might just kind of go with that. So I'm going to hit the install button here, and it went in right away. And then if you want to add more, you simply just kind of scroll down and take your pick. But I think I'm good, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to select it, and then hit apply. I guess it helps if you select it first. And then hit apply. There we go. And it changed our folders brown. Wow. So it grabbed some browns there, probably over on the left-hand side, and kind of made them brown. That's kind of original. I think the brown would probably look a little better with a lighter theme, but you know, I'm good with it. Then we got our location settings, our icon settings. So by default, they're arranged in rows, which means they're going to go across horizontally if you have a bunch of icons up there. If you want them in columns, which is the more traditional type, you can change it right there. You can lock in place if you don't want your icons to get moved around. And then of course you got your about. So wallpapers, that's easy peasy if you want to have more choices with your wallpaper. And speaking of wallpaper, if you want to go into your Dolphin file manager, which has nothing to do with wallpaper, you can see that there's only a desktop when you click on home, which is kind of strange, but we'll get to that in a second. When you click on those folders, it only takes a single click and you'll click into the folders. Traditionally, it would be a double click. That's kind of what I'm used to. So to change that, you just go into your system settings, workspace behavior here. When we click on that, you can see here clicking files and folders. It's set to opens them. So if you wanted to double click, what you wanted to select is the choice that says select them. Selects them. So when you click that and select it, now it will select that folder instead of taking the inside it automatically. So if you don't like the single click, that's how you change it back to a double click. And there's my other folders, so it's inside the documents folder. So that's kind of like traditional Windows XP kind of style, where it put your user folders inside the documents, like my documents, I remember back in the day. So it looks like that's a format they're following here. If you go into the documents folder, then you have your downloads, your images, music, text, and video. So very cool. That's kind of unique. Kind of takes me back a little bit. I kind of like that. I could get used to that, I guess. So that kind of solves that mystery. So I'm kind of glad to see that. So Openmamba, this is really a unique distro. This is something that I just kind of stumbled across. I think it might have been on Distro Watch maybe. I don't remember now. But I'm really glad I ran into this because I especially like RPM-based distros because they are cutting edge yet stable. And so that's one thing I really like about RPMs, and I've said that about other RPM distros too, like Fedora and OpenSUSE and so forth, is that you get the relative cutting edgeness of Arch with the stability of Debian. So it's really a great compromise, and that's one thing that really appeals to me to RPM-based distros, is having that stability and up-to-date software. So to me, it's just a really winning combination. And with Openmamba here, I'm seeing that I don't have to install any special repositories to get my additional softwares like VLC Media Player or OBS Studio. Like I was saying earlier, in Fedora you need RPM Fusion, and in OpenSUSE I think you got to add in the Pacman repository. And so you got to kind of go through a couple of minor extra hoops for stuff like that. And here you don't have to worry about it. So that's one of those RPM distros where that is kind of not a thing. So I'm really liking it. And again, I would say if this distro was on my computer and I was just having to use it, I'd be very happy with it. Of course, it's got the KDE-Plasma desktop, which is an excellent desktop. Don't really have anything bad to say about that. Even Mrs. Boss uses it, and she's never complained, and she's probably one of the fussiest people I know when it comes to your layout on a computer. So if it passes her test, it can pass any test. And with that, I got to tell you, I'm going to recommend this 100%, and I give this 2 thumbs up too, because to me, this was an absolutely almost flawless review that I went through. I didn't find any issues that I didn't like. The only slight dent that I saw in the whole works was the HTOP. The theming for some reason was off in that, and I don't really understand what was going on there because the theme looks fine everywhere else. So it just seems to be, for whatever reason, HTOP just wasn't working well in the console. And it might be a console setting, something that I missed, some minor thing. Maybe I just picked the wrong window theme or something there in the settings. I don't know. But anyways, that is like beyond minor. In the short time that I looked this over, it seems beyond flawless. And of course, we got the power of KDE behind it too, so it's got to be quite rock stable. And I've never really run into an RPM-based distro that really wasn't quite stable anyway. So yes, absolutely. Again, 2 thumbs up on that. And I hope this review was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you really liked it, leave 2 thumbs up. And also, don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.